Good evening. This is All India Radio. I'm Naresh Mago and with me is Reshma Tiwari with the evening news. The headlines. All preparations in place for presidential election to be held tomorrow. Government holds all-party meeting ahead of monsoon session, says ready to discuss any issue. Margaret Alva to be opposition's candidate for the Vice President's post. India crosses the milestone of administering 200 crore COVID vaccine doses. WHO hails it as an evidence of country's commitment to minimize the impact of the pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several ministers congratulate countrymen on crossing the special figure. Prime Minister to address Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization Seminar Swavalamban in New Delhi tomorrow. ICSE Class 10th Board Examination results declared. PV Sindhu wins Singapore Open Badminton title. And in cricket, England set a 260-run target for India in the third and final ODI at Old Trafford. All preparations are in place for the election of the 16th President of India on the first day of the monsoon session of Parliament tomorrow. Polling will be held in Parliament House and the premises of the state legislative assemblies between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. For the President's post, the ruling NDA has nominated Draupadi Murmu, while Yashwant Sinha is the opposition's candidate. The total number of electors will be 4,809, including 776 members of Parliament and 4,033 members of legislative assemblies. Counting will take place on the 21st of July. The term of the office of President Ramnath Kovind is ending on 24th July. Besides the NDA partners, YSR Congress, Shiv Sena, SAD, JMM, BJD have also announced their support for Ms. Murmu. The Election Commission has appointed 37 observers for overseeing the arrangements of polling and counting during the elections. The Commission has deployed one observer for overseeing polling at each of the 30 places of poll in the state and UT legislative assemblies and 2 observers for Parliament House. The designated observers will take stock of election arrangements made for security and transportation of ballot boxes and election material by the returning officers and assistant returning officers and ensure free and fair elections. The observers deputed at Parliament House will also oversee the counting process of votes on the 21st of this month. Ahead of the monsoon session, an all-party meeting called by the government was held in New Delhi today. It was convened to seek cooperation from all political parties for smooth conduct of both the Houses of Parliament. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi, Congress MPs Mallikarjun Kharge and Jairam Ramesh, TMC MP Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, Rashtriya Lok Dal MP Jayant Chaudhary and DMK MP Tiruchi Shiva attended the meeting. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu also called a meeting of floor leaders of different parties in the upper house this evening. Deputy Chairman Harivansh, Leader in the Rajya Sabha Piyush Goyal, Leader of Opposition Mallikarjun Kharge, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi, MOS Parliamentary Affairs V. Muralidharan, Arjun Ram Meghwal, Congress Leader Jairam Ramesh, NCP Leader Sharad Pawar, Sasmit Patra of the BJD, V. Vijay Sai Reddy of YSRCP, Tiruchi Shiva of DMK and others attended the meeting. Briefing the media after the meeting, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi said members of 36 political parties took part in the meeting.
36 parties attended and almost 36 leaders, they put forth their views and I am thankful to them for having accepted our invitation and participated, and they have given their suggestions also, and they have demanded for some of the issues to be discussed. The government under the leadership of the entire meeting went on in the leadership of Shri Rajnath Singh Ji. Rajnath Singh Ji and myself we have amply clarified that under the rules and the procedure for whichever the speaker and chairman gives the permission, government is ready to discuss any issue.
Several opposition leaders said after the meeting that they raised the issues of price rise, the unparliamentary words controversy, and the demand for withdrawal of the Agnipath recruitment scheme to be raised during the monsoon session. The monsoon session will continue till the 12th of August. There will be 18 sittings during the session. Apart from the president's election tomorrow, the election for the vice president will also be held during the session. Our correspondent reports that various bills, including Family Courts Amendment Bill, Forest Conservation Amendment Bill, Press and Registration of Periodicals Bill, are likely to be taken up in the session.
In the Union Territory of Puducherry, the presidential election will be held tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. All arrangements for the election have been completed. The offices located in the Assembly Complex were closed for 2 days, that is 16th and 17th, for sanitization.
Only 30 legislators who are the voters and the polling officials will be allowed into the assembly premises tomorrow. The Rajya Sabha member S. Selva Ganapathy belongs to BJP and will cast his vote in Delhi, while the Lok Sabha member V. Vaithilingam of Congress will exercise his franchise in Puducherry. The value of the vote of a legislator is 16, while that of an MP will be 700. As far as Puducherry is concerned, the NR Congress 10, BJP 6 and 4 independent legislators with a total of 20, along with the BJP MP Selva Ganapathy, will cast their vote for the NDA candidate Draupadi Murmu, while the DMK 6 and Congress members 2, totaling of 8 besides Vaithilingam MP, will vote for the opposition candidate Yashwant Sinha. The stance of 2 independent legislators was not known so far. Chandramohan, AR News, Puducherry.
NDA's presidential candidate Draupadi Murmu today visited Gujarat a day before presidential election. She addressed the BJP MLAs of the state in Ahmedabad. She was accompanied by Union Minister Bharati Pawar and National Secretary Rituraj Sinha. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, State BJP President C.R. Patil, along with senior ministers of the state, were also present in the meeting. Margaret Alva will be the opposition's candidate for vice presidential election, which will be held on the 6th of next month. Briefing media after the meeting of opposition parties in New Delhi today, NCP Chief Sharad Pawar said 17 parties are on board for this unanimous decision. He said Mrs. Alva will file the nomination on Tuesday.
राजनीतिक दल जितने हैं इनमें से कई साथियों के साथ हमारी बात हो गई और देश के उप राष्ट्रपति के चुनाव के लिए हम सब के तरफ हमने एक कैंडिडेट अनाउंस करने का तय किया। श्रीमती मार्गारेट अल्वा, she was a minister in government of India, she was a Rajya Sabha member for many years.
Mrs. Alva has been member of Rajya Sabha for 4 times and once of Lok Sabha. She has also served as Union Minister and Governor of Uttarakhand and Rajasthan.
India today crossed the milestone of administering 2 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccine within 18 months of launching the vaccination drive in January last year. World Health Organization WHO has hailed India for administering over 2 billion COVID-19 vaccine doses. Talking to AIR News, WHO Regional Director for Southeast Asia, Dr. Poonam Khetrapal Singh, said this is yet another evidence of the country's commitment and efforts to minimize the impact of the ongoing pandemic.
200 करोड़ कोविड-19 वैक्सीन डोजेस देने के लिए मैं भारत को बधाई देती हूँ। ये देश की प्रतिबद्धता और महामारी के प्रभाव को कम करने के प्रयासों का एक और सबूत है। कोविड-19 टीके गंभीर बीमारी और मृत्यु से सुरक्षा प्रदान करते हैं। इन जीवन रक्षक टीकों को सभी लोगों तक पहुंचाने के लिए हमें अपने प्रयास जारी रखने चाहिए।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated the countrymen on crossing the special figure of 200 crore COVID vaccine doses. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said, India has created history again. He said he's proud of those who contributed to making India's vaccination drive unparalleled in scale and speed. He said this has strengthened the global fight against COVID-19. Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia said emphasis on scientific research, manufacturing of COVID vaccines and setting up a huge network for nationwide vaccination drive have played a key role in the speedy administration of 200 crore COVID vaccine doses. Talking exclusively to All India Radio News, Dr. Mansukh Mandavia said, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's effective COVID management is the main reason for the successful COVID vaccination drive in the country.
आज भारत 200 करोड़ डोज टीका लगाने का विश्व का सबसे पहला देश बना है। वैक्सीन रिसर्च से लेके सक्सेसफुल वैक्सीनेशन, ये जर्नी से हमें ये प्रेरणा मिलती है कि देश में कभी ब्रेन पावर और मैन पावर की कमी नहीं थी, क्षमताओं की कमी नहीं थी। ये देश में अपार क्षमताओं सदियों से है, पहले से है। सवाल इतना ही है उसको कैसे बाहर लाए, ये अपॉर्चुनिटी को कैसे एनकेज करें, जो मोदी जी ने करके दिखाया।
Dr. Mandavia also highlighted the importance of Har Ghar Dastak campaign. He said continuous efforts were made to accelerate the pace and coverage of COVID vaccination.
देश में 98% 18 एवो को फर्स्ट डोज एडमिनिस्टर हो जाना यानी कि एक बहुत सक्सेसफुल प्रयास हुआ है। उसके बाद देश में कोविड की रफ्तार कम हुई तो सेकंड डोज लगाने में थोड़ी लोगों में उत्साह कम दिखाई दिया, तो हमने हर घर दस्तक 2 लिया और हर घर दस्तक 2 के अंतर्गत हमारे वैक्सीनेटर लोग घर घर पहुंचे और सेकंड डोज लगाने के लिए लोगों को प्रोत्साहित किया ताकि हम 90% सेकंड डोज तक भी पहुंच गए।
Talking about the recent decision of the government to administer free COVID precaution doses for people above 18 years of age, the minister said this will help in boosting the immunity against COVID.
बच्चों को टीका लगना ये बहुत जरूरी है क्योंकि जून महीने से नया सेशन चालू हो चुका है, बच्चे स्कूल जाने लगे हैं। ऐसी स्थिति में वो इम्यूनाइज हो ये बहुत आवश्यक है और इसलिए 12 से एवं 12 to 15 to 18 सभी बच्चों को टीका स्कूल में जाके हमारे वैक्सीनेटर स्कूल में जाते हैं, बच्चों को लगाते हैं, कैंप आयोजित करते हैं, बच्चों को लगाते हैं और उसको अच्छा प्रतिशत मिल रहा है। आज 82% फर्स्ट डोज लग चुका है, उसका टाइम पूरा होने से दूसरा डोज भी उसको अपने स्कूल में जाके, कॉलेज में जाके हमारा वैक्सीनेटर लोग जाके लगा देंगे।
Congratulating the countrymen on achieving the remarkable feat, Home Minister Amit Shah said this reflects the will and might of New India under the Prime Minister's leadership. He saluted the country's scientists, doctors, healthcare staff, and each and every person associated with the vaccination drive. INB Minister Anurag Thakur said in a tweet that Indians have achieved the feat at a record pace while unleashing reforms and protecting livelihoods through the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. All preparations in place for the presidential election to be held tomorrow. Government holds all-party meeting ahead of monsoon session, says ready to discuss any issue. Margaret Alva to be the opposition's candidate for the vice president's post. India crosses the milestone of administering 200 crore COVID vaccine doses. WHO hails it as an evidence of country's commitment to minimize the impact of the pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several ministers congratulate countrymen on crossing the special figure. Prime Minister to address Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization Seminar, Swawalamban in New Delhi tomorrow. ICSE Class 10th Board Examination results declared. PV Sindhu wins the Singapore Open badminton title, and in cricket, England set a 260-run target for India in the third and final ODI at Old Trafford. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the NIIO Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization Seminar Swawalamban tomorrow at Dr. Ambedkar International Center in New Delhi. One of the key pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to attain self-reliance in the defense sector. To take this endeavor forward, the Prime Minister will unveil sprint challenges aimed at giving a boost to usage of indigenous technology in the Indian Navy. As a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, NIIO, in conjunction with the Defence Innovation Organization, aims at inducting at least 75 new indigenous technologies and products in the Navy. This collaborative project is named SPRINT, which stands for Supporting Pole Vaulting in R&D through IDEX, NIIO and TDAC. The Council for the Indian Schools Certificate Examinations, CISCE, has declared the Class 10th result this evening. The result has been uploaded on the website of CISCE. Students can view their result by logging on to results.cisce.org. The result is also available through SMS, for which detail has been posted on the websites.
National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test NEET UG 2022 was held today at more than 3,500 exam centres in 543 cities in India and 14 cities outside India. A record over 18,72,000 candidates, including nearly 11 lakh women, appeared in the examination. Conducted by the National Testing Agency, the NEET UG is a qualifying entrance exam for admissions into MBBS, BDS, Bachelor of Ayurveda, Medicine and Surgery, BAMS, and several other medicine courses. In Jammu and Kashmir, one assistant sub-inspector of CRPF was martyred when terrorists fired upon Naka party at Gangu Crossing near Pulwama town this afternoon. The area has been cordoned off by the security forces and a massive manhunt was launched to nab the assailants. Details are awaited.
The Kerala government has set up help desks in all airports in the state as part of intensifying preventive measures in the wake of the first monkeypox case confirmed in the country. Help desk services are available in Thiruvananthapuram, Kochi, Kozhikode and Kannur airports. A statewide public awareness drive will be launched tomorrow. The central team, which is currently camping in the state, today visited Kollam district and collected information from the hospital where the infected person first sought medical aid. Monkeypox was confirmed in a 35-year-old Kollam native who reached the state capital on Tuesday from the United Arab Emirates. This year, the Air Force Day Parade will be held in Chandigarh. Indian Air Force Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chowdhury said the decision was made in view of the Prime Minister's vision to take major events out of Delhi. Speaking to a news agency today, the Air Chief said, keeping with the PM's vision and Air Force's idea of showing IAF's prowess to the youth of the nation, it has been decided to shift the venue of the parade to a new location every year. From 2006, Air Force Day on the 8th of October was celebrated at the Hindon Air Base, which is in the adjoining district of Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh. Prior to that, the Palam Air Base was the choice for holding the Air Force Day celebration.
Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia today chaired a high-level meeting in connection with numerous safety issues pertaining to aviation. Mr. Scindia directed the officials to strictly adhere to the prescribed safety norms and avoid any kind of laxity towards passenger safety. During the meeting, senior officials of Ministry of Civil Aviation and Directorate General of Civil Aviation were present. And now, let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember Khasi freedom fighter U. Tirot Singh Siem, who died on the 17th of July, 1835. Hailed for his warfare tactics, valor and uncompromised control over the Khasi region against British occupation, U. Tirot Singh Siem was among the fiercest leaders of the Anglo-Khasi War that was fought from 1823 to 1833. His death anniversary is commemorated every year as a state holiday in Meghalaya.
Tirot Singh drew his lineage from the Siam League clan and declared war and fought against the British for attempts to take over control of the Khasi Hills. Initially, the British and Tirot Singh came to an agreement, that is permission for the road project between Guwahati and Sylhet in lieu of regaining possession of the passes into Assam called Dwars. But the regional king Balram Singh disputed Tirot Singh's claim to the Dwars and went ahead with a party of armed men to establish his claim. When news came that the British were reinforcing forces in Assam, Tirot Singh convened a darbar again and passed orders for the British to evacuate Nongkla.
The British did not pay any heed, and the Khasis attacked the British garrison in Nongkla. In the Anglo-Khasi War, the Khasis lacked firearms and had only swords, shields, bows and arrows. Therefore, they resorted to guerrilla activity, which dragged on for about 4 years. Tirot Singh was shot at by the British and had to hide in a cave. He was eventually captured by the British in January 1833 and deported to Dhaka. U. Tirot Singh Siam died on the 17th of July 1835.
All India Radio News salutes the brave son of the soil.
We also remember freedom fighter Veer Hasaram Pamnani, who died on the 17th of July 1940. Born at Rohre on the 10th of April 1889 in Sindh, Pamnani resigned his government job during the non-cooperation movement in 1921 and joined the national movement. He was jailed multiple times for his participation in the freedom movement.
In 1937, Pamnani was elected to the Sindh Legislative Assembly. When communal passions flared up in the area, Pamnani exposed the conspiracy behind the development in the Sindh Legislative Assembly. However, Veer Hasaram Pamnani was shot dead by the communalists on 17th of July 1940 for foiling their attempt at starting a communal riot. AIR News salutes the great nationalist.
We also remember Gandhian freedom fighter Kishore Yesav, who died on the 17th of July 1930. A resident of Palghar, Maharashtra, Kishore was actively involved in the civil disobedience movement at Dharasana, Gujarat. He was injured in the police lathi charge on the Satyagrahis. Instead of providing Kishore with first aid, the police arrested and detained him in the Arthur Road jail. He was incarcerated in the jail for about 15 days and was shifted thereafter to JJ Hospital in a critical condition. Kishore Yesav succumbed to his injuries 2 days later, on the 17th of July 1930. We salute this great Satyagrahi.
We also remember independence activist Guriya, who took part in the First War of Independence in 1857. Guriya was caught by the British and put on trial for aiding and abetting the uprising against the British. He was sentenced to imprisonment for 14 years with hard labor in irons. He died in captivity on the 17th of July 1859 in the Andaman Islands. AIR News salutes the brave son of the soil.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
As part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, All India Radio News brings to its listeners Amrit Mahotsav Quiz, a special quiz on India's freedom movement and its glorious history. The next question of Amrit Mahotsav Quiz will be shared with the listeners in the morning bulletin tomorrow. Celebrate India's Amrit Mahotsav by celebrating in the quiz.
अब हर घर की छत पर शान से फहरेगा तिरंगा, गुनगुनाए जाएंगे नव विकास के गीत, आन बान शान का प्रतीक राष्ट्रध्वज तिरंगा। आइए आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव के पावन अवसर पर इस स्वाधीनता दिवस हर घर फहराते हैं तिरंगा और लेते हैं भव्य और सशक्त भारत के निर्माण का संकल्प।
आइए हर घर फहराएं तिरंगा।
Home Minister Amit Shah today held a meeting with all the chief ministers, lieutenant governors and administrators of union territories on the Har Ghar Tiranga program. To further strengthen the feeling of patriotism amongst the countrymen, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a unique campaign in the form of Har Ghar Tiranga. Mr. Shah said in this campaign, more than 100 crore people will be connected across the country who will unfurl the tricolour at their homes from 13th to 15th August. Sri Lanka's acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe and main opposition leader Sajith Premadasa are among the 4 candidates who have joined the race to become the country's next president. Lawmakers met on Saturday to start the process of electing a new president to succeed Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who resigned after unprecedented protests against his government over the country's economic collapse. Marxist JVP leader Anura Kumara Dissanayaka and D. Alaperuma are the other 2 leaders who have so far announced their candidacy to contest the July 20 vote in Parliament to succeed Rajapaksa for the rest of his term until November 2024. Parliament met for a brief special session yesterday to announce the vacancy in the presidency following the resignation of Rajapaksa.
Ace Indian shuttler PV Sindhu has clinched her maiden women's single title of Singapore Open Badminton Tournament. The 2-time Olympic medalist defeated Wang Zhiyi of China 21-9, 11-21, 21-15 to claim her 3rd title this year. She won Korea Open and Swiss Open earlier this year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Sindhu on the victory. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said she has yet again demonstrated her exceptional sporting talent and achieved success. He said it is a proud moment for the country and will also give inspiration to the upcoming players. Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur also praised PV Sindhu's performance in the Singapore Open as stunning.
पीवी सिंधु जी को मैं पहले तो देश की ओर से और भारत सरकार की ओर से बहुत बधाई देना चाहता हूं। सिंगापुर टाइटल जीतकर तिरंगे की मान और शान एक बार फिर बढ़ाने का काम किया है। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने खेलों को लगातार बढ़ावा दिया। फिट इंडिया मूवमेंट हो या खेलो इंडिया अभियान, टॉप स्कीम हो या बाकी योजनाएं हो, प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने हर बड़े टूर्नामेंट से पहले खिलाड़ियों से बात भी की और उनका मनोबल भी बढ़ाया। एक बार फिर पीवी सिंधु जी को बहुत बहुत बधाई सिंगापुर टाइटल जीतने पर।
In cricket, chasing a target of 260 runs, India was 79 for 4 in 16.4 overs in the series decider third ODI at Old Trafford when reports last came in. Earlier put into bat, England were all out for 259 runs in 45.5 overs. Skipper Jos Buttler top scored with 60 runs. For India, all-rounder Hardik Pandya in an economical spell of 7 overs took 4 wickets, giving away only 24 runs, while Yuzvendra Chahal scalped 3 wickets.
France has evacuated more than 14,000 people threatened by wildfires in the southwest, as fires also spread in Spain, Croatia and Greece. Authorities in France's Gironde, a popular tourist region, have evacuated guards from campsites. Fires have spread in the Teste de Buc and Landiras areas. Across the Mediterranean from Morocco in the west to Crete in the east, thousands of firefighters and many water-bombing aircraft have been deployed. Heat waves have become more frequent, more intense and last longer because of human-induced climate change. And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. All preparations in place for the presidential election to be held tomorrow. Government holds all-party meeting ahead of monsoon session, says ready to discuss any issue. Margaret Alva to be the opposition's candidate for the vice president's post. India crosses the milestone of administering 200 crore COVID vaccine doses. WHO hails it as an evidence of country's commitment to minimize the impact of the pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several ministers congratulate countrymen on crossing the special figure. Prime Minister to address Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization Seminar Swavalamban in New Delhi tomorrow. ICSE Class 10 board examination result declared. PV Sindhu wins Singapore Open Badminton title. And in cricket, England set a 260-run target for India in the third and final ODI at Old Trafford. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.